right, we're to the point now where we're going to start drawing our illustration, and I've decided that I'm going to take this stage and break it up into 2 different videos because of how long it's going to take for me to kind of explain the process. So in this video, we're going to start by taking our thumbnails and turning them into bigger drawings, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways you can do that. And then we're going to take those drawings to a comp stage as an example of what you would turn into a client. And since we don't have a client in this case, we're going to go ahead and pick our sketch that we're going to take to a more finished version. And then in the next video, we're going to be working on that sketch. So stick around to see how the magic happens. The reason I wanted to show you 3 different ways to turn your thumbnail into a bigger drawing is because I've done it differently over the years depending on what technology was available to me. So I'm going to start out with the lowest tech version. If you're not computer savvy, you can use this version. Then we'll go into like a mid-tech version where I'll show you how I use the computer and also paper to get the illustration to a comp stage. And then the last one, I'll show you what I do now, which you can do if you have like a Cintiq or an iPad Pro or anything where you are comfortable drawing right in a computer program. So let's get started. For this first version, all you need is a piece of paper and a ruler, one with a square, like this works pretty good, and a pencil and probably an eraser. You'll also need your concept art sketches that you've done because you're going to refer to those. You'll need probably some of your photo reference if you've taken any, and if you have any other reference that you've gotten off of Google or Pinterest, you'll probably want access to that. But what we're going to do is we're going to measure out our finished illustration and make a big square. And in this case, the finished illustration is going to be 11 by 14. This piece of paper is 11 by 17. So we're just going to go ahead and make a square. I'll show you. All right, hopefully you can see the lines that I've drawn here on this page. It should be 14 inches across. Yeah, it is. So we have 11 by 14 measured out on our piece of paper. Now all we do is we take our thumbnail, we are going to be working on this one right here, and I'm just going to look at it and I'm going to basically block out where that is on my paper. So that didn't take too much time. I switched to a marker just so that you guys could see my marks from the paper up onto the camera. You probably don't actually want to use a marker in real life. All I've done is basically take this version of the thumbnail and try to block it out bigger, paying close attention to where the negative shapes are, like right down here and up here, and some of the other main shapes. I have basically just kind of a crazy sketch. And the next thing you can do is take some tracing paper. This one's not big enough, but this is the pre-computer version of layers. So you can basically take some tracing paper or even just some paper like this, copy paper. As long as you can see your marks through the page, you can draw on top of it. You can start to get more detailed with your character, drawing the face and putting details in, and you can use more and more layers of paper as you need them to work out your illustration. So that is the first way you can take your thumbnail and turn it into a bigger illustration. Got it? Good. I'll show you more of the process of what I do with the layers on top of the thumbnail in just a minute. But for now, we're going to move on, and I'm going to show you the second way that you can turn your thumbnails into a bigger illustration. All right, the next thing that you can do, if you have more access to things like Photoshop or a large format printer, then this is what I did for a long time until I got my iPad Pro. And this is what I did. I'd get my thumbnail drawing in Photoshop. So I have it here. You can do this by scanning your drawing if it's on a piece of paper or taking a photo. whatever you need to do to get it into your computer. Then you crop it down. And after you crop it down, you blow it up really big. You blow it up to the size that you want your finished illustration to be. In this case, 11 by 14. So now I'm just gonna print this thumbnail out, big and sloppy looking, onto a piece of paper. I fortunately have a large format printer, but if you don't, you can always take it to like Kinko's or something like that, if you feel like that would be faster than the other thing that I just showed you. It's up to you. So I'm gonna print it and then I'll show you what to do next. Now I have this giant thumbnail printed out the size that I need it, and I can continue on like I did before. I can use layers of copy paper like this and draw right over the thumbnail. Can you guys see that? So it usually will show through. Or I can use tracing paper if you want to have more transparency, and just make layers and layers again and build up your drawing like that. I hope that helps you if you don't have access to like an iPad Pro or a Cintiq or even Photoshop. You have some options to move forward with your illustration and make it awesome. The third option is what I'm going to show you. I use my iPad now because I have one, so I can. And I'll just show you how I use that, and then we'll continue using the iPad, and I'll build up the layers and show you how I take this thumbnail to a comp drawing. The third option for moving your thumbnail into a sketch is definitely the easiest if you have this option. All I do is go into my iPad where I have my thumbnails. I copy the thumbnail that I want to work with. Then I create a new file that is the size that I want, which is 11 by 14, and paste the thumbnail in. Blow it up to the size of the file, and then I can just make the background, the thumbnail, more transparent and start drawing. So you can see that this is pretty much the same process whether I did it by hand all the way, use the computer a little bit, or a lot. I get it to this point where I have kind of an underneath thumbnail drawing that I can then start working with. So this is where you're going to want to have your character kind of up where you can see it for drawing, and you can just start sketching. This layer of the drawing, this first layer, is just going to be like a slightly better version of the thumbnail. It's not going to be super nice, but I'm going to start to notice where things come in, where I need to know what things look like. So I'm going to start seeing that I'm going to need some photo reference. So I'm kind of looking at the sizes of things on my character to try and sort of block them in. And I didn't design one sideways, again, because this is just a one-off illustration, but I do want to think about his overall shape, but we're going to get to that later. He's going to be on some kind of a stool, and right here is straw. All right, so at this point I've run into a problem because in the research that I've done, I now know that the spinning wheel needs to be in a slightly different position than how I drew him on here. So I'm gonna make him a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to draw the spinning wheel a little bit differently. Still trying to keep my main negative shapes and just kind of going pretty fast. Okay, I have something, it's still pretty sketchy. It's just a teeny step up from what the thumbnail was, but I'm going to do it again. Make that lighter, add a new layer, and sketch again. And at this point, I'm gonna probably start using some of the photo reference that I've collected. So we have some here, and one of them is Lariah with her spinning wheel and feet and hands on a stool. So
Okay.
I still want him to be a lot more hunched over than she is in the reference. So I'm going to keep that, but I'm going to look at how some other things work. And I'm going to keep my eye on this. He's broader at the top and skinnier at the bottom. One of the reasons I like doing doing concept art before I get to the photo reference is because then I can look at this more than I'm looking at this. So for example, but one of the reasons that photo reference is nice is because see the way that her foot is turned? That's interesting, and I can use it in my picture. And then again, hands, I can see what her hands are doing. Okay, so that's probably good for him right now. I'm going to move over to the Miller's Daughter since I already have some photo reference of that. So let me find one that I like. Pull up my sketch of her too. Okay, so the other reference I need is the spinning wheel reference, and I have that on the Pinterest board that I set up in the very first video. So I'll go to my boards, find Rumpelstiltskin, see what we have. Maybe I looked it up on Google and forgot to pin it. Guess we need to find some. Okay, I like that angle. It's really close to what I have here. And I have my spinning wheel drawings over here. I really liked this sort of spindly spinning wheel rather than the chubby one. I'm gonna go for that for now. I might change it later. This wheel part is basically just a sideways cylinder. We're going to do some piles. knew that they were there. And I think to sort of help tell the story, we have this straw coming in right here. Over on this side, I want to have some full spools of gold. I was thinking piles, but then I realized it would probably end up on spools, or maybe quite a few spools. Okay, you can see that's basically one step up from the one that I did the last time. Now, you're just going to keep going like this until you have something that when you show it to a client or whatever, you feel like they'll totally get it. They'll see it, they'll know what's going on. They won't wonder what's happening. So there's still a lot of work to do. I forgot to draw the back of this. So you're just going to do another layer. If you're doing this with paper, you're going to do another tracing paper layer. So I'm going to pull up another layer, and I'm going to start this layer and put a little bit of perspective grid in, which you can also do easily on Procreate. So I think the eye level is going to be about right here, and it's mostly going to affect our spinning wheel, but also the stool maybe. If anything, the important thing is knowing where the eye level is in your picture. Right at Rumpelstiltskin's eye level. Okay, obviously that was really easy on the iPad, but you can set up a perspective grid and print one out or draw one for your other illustrations. If you need to know how to do that, I would probably Google it because I don't plan on making a video about it. It's really hard. Okay, so this layer, we're going to make it lighter, hide the one underneath, and now it's time to kind of slow down and do a better job drawing it. So I'm going to time lapse this part, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I have in mind, what I'm doing, and I'll come back and talk to you about it when I'm to a point that I feel like that would be a good idea. So that's it for now. I'll be back in a bit. Okay, here is what I am going to call a comp drawing. If I was doing this for a client, I might make this look a little better. But for my purposes, it's good enough because at this point I'm going to look at this drawing and the other two comp drawings that I've done to see which one I like the best and to see which one I want to move forward with. So this is the one that you've been watching me make, and I've also posted the time lapse for this one. So that's option number 2. And option number 3 is this close-up one. And again, since this is a personal project, I'm just going to go with the one that I'm the most excited about. And oddly enough, I didn't expect this, but it's going to be this close-up one. I really like the direction that this is going, and actually this one has changed the most from the thumbnail. I'll show you the original thumbnail. The original thumbnail was this, and I had to change it a lot to get it to a point that it felt good and also authentic. I did some research since that thumbnail and figured out spinning wheels were different than what I was thinking originally. So anyway, this is how that turned out. So out of those 3 options, I don't know if you guys can see. There we go. There's basically a medium, a faraway view, and a close-up view. These ones both have the miller's daughter in it, and that one doesn't, but I am again most excited about that. So we're going to take this option and move forward. That's what we'll do in the next video. So I hope you liked this video and that it was useful for you. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you can see what happens next. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. I hope you'll subscribe by pushing that subscribe button that's around here somewhere. And if you head over to talesfantastic.com, you can see all of the art and the stories that I'm coming out with every month. You can also sign up for my newsletter, which will give you awesome creative advice, and you'll get beautiful art in your inbox, and you'll get a free story download. So don't miss out on that, and go head over to talesfantastic.com. Thanks!